Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Thank God we're finally out of New Orleans, and I don't have to deal with those stupid Mardi Gras masks anymore.
Hi, I'm Bill Plaschke of the Los Angeles Times, and however, I was looking around and I found this scary mask.
Whoa! Get that out of here. Welcome to PTI. Tony is on vacation again, playing golf somewhere. Sitting in his chair today is my friend Bill Plaschke of the Los Angeles Times. Now, Bill and I were both in New Orleans last night, and I'm pretty sure, in fact, I know, neither one of us picked the Patriots to beat the Rams. The St. Louis players have been saying all season that the only team that could beat the Rams was the Rams. In part, they were right, because 2 Kurt Warner interceptions greatly assisted the Patriots. But New England is much greater than the sum of those parts, and because of that, they're Super Bowl champions. Bill, how come so few people, whether we're talking about the odds makers, current or former players, or media folks like you and me, could see this coming?
On paper, it's clear the Patriots were an inferior team, maybe the most inferior team in Super Bowl history. But I think people changed their minds from the very beginning. Remember the pregame introductions? The Rams all came out, dancing and shouting.
Did that affect you like it did me?
Oh, I was stunned. The Rams came out like that, which is no big deal. Last year, Ray Lewis threw grass over himself. It was okay. But then the Patriots came out, and they didn't come out as an individual. They came out as one big team, and I kept waiting for them to say, introducing the quarterback. They didn't. They said, this is just a team, end of introductions. Right then, people knew this was a different kind of team they were talking about.
It wasn't even. They came out even differently. They did it a few times this season. I'm told, Teddy Bruschi was explaining it to me.
Yes.
But then they came out as a unit. They would announce the offense, everybody run on the field, then the defense would follow, then the special teams. They didn't even do that yesterday. They just all came out together.
It was amazing. Even the cheerleaders were stunned. They stood there saying, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And after the game, Kyle Law said, I bet the NFL wants to find us. I bet Fox is mad at us because we did it. I don't care what they said.
Fox had to pad maybe 2.5 minutes because they had no intro. But you know what? I didn't think of the Patriots as inferior as much as I thought of St. Louis as superior.
No, wait, come on. New England shouldn't even be here. The Raiders should be in the game. New England got lucky against the Raiders. They got lucky against the Steelers with Cordell Stewart throwing those 2 bad passes. Patriots shouldn't even been there.
I thought they beat the Steelers, but I thought they did get lucky with that call against the Raiders.
Before the game, everyone was talking about the matchup of offensive and defensive geniuses, Mike Martz of the Rams against the Patriots, Bill Belichick. 4 hours later, we're only talking about one, and it wasn't Martz, who was badly outcoached and out-schemed by Belichick. Does this game show, I hate to say it because I don't like Bill Belichick very much, but does this game show that he's a more complete head coach than we thought? And maybe Mike Martz isn't a head coach at all.
Well, I don't know, Bill. Mike Martz seems like a mad scientist like that. He really likes having that rep. Well, we know mad scientists have stuff blow up in their face every now and again. And I thought that happened yesterday. Give the ball to Marshall Faulk. He refused to do it. Guys get so wrapped up in their own genius, they don't do what's best for the team. I think Belichick does
I was stunned. Belichick, it's like he snuck into the mad scientist's office, rearranged the furniture. Martz walked in panic. I thought the key play of the whole game was the Patriots were up 7-3, second quarter. Rams have the ball, 3rd and 1 from midfield. And they threw a dumb pass downfield, some looper to Isaac Bruce in double coverage. Why don't they run the ball? I think Mike Martz was a wimp. I think Mike Martz was afraid to get his nose dirty.
No, I don't think he was afraid of anything. I just think that these guys get so wrapped up in what they want to do, in their schemes, in their systems, in their philosophies.
But he had to adjust. He had to adjust.
But they don't believe in it. And you know what? They never had to adjust during the regular season. They went 14-2, and while they did get popped twice by physical teams, they just breezed through most of those teams. And tell you something else, Bill, they never had to come from 2 scores down. People say they were trailing Philly 1 score, and at home it's different than being 2 scores down in a neutral
site. It was almost like Mike Martz was, instead of the overhead projector, this was reality. His players were getting hit. There was a little blood there. I wonder if his players had ever had grass stains on them. There was blood going on there. There was nuts.
Not just Tampa.
Yeah,
which they also lost. All right, it's hard to believe that a week ago today, some people, are you watching, Tony? Thought the Patriots had a quarterback controversy and that Bledsoe might be named starter ahead of Brady. How stupid a sentiment is that now that Brady is the youngest starting quarterback ever to win a Super Bowl and the game's MVP?
Absolutely, he's the game's MVP. He pulled a Joe Montana yesterday, lead him down the field at the end of the game. I know his numbers weren't that great, but Joe Montana did the same thing. But the team MVP is Drew Bledsoe. Did you see what happened right before that last drive? Tom Brady was walking onto the field. Bledsoe grabbed him by the shoulder pads, pulled him back. I asked Brady, what did he tell you? He told me, go out and sling the ball, go win the game for us. Imagine that. Drew Bledsoe grabbing him, pulling him back on the field, back on the sidelines. I thought it was huge for the Patriots.
Bill, you and I have seen in our time a bad quarterback relationship almost bury a team with great talent, and that was Montana and Steve Young. The way Montana treated Steve Young.
He stabbed Steve Young. Joe Montana stabbed Steve Young in the back worse than any quarterback 100 times.
All right, but let me ask you this. Can't we make a case for Adam Vinatieri as the MVP, considering he makes that great 45-yard field goal in the snow?
He's never missed indoors this year. He's supposed to make that. He's paid to make that field goal. That's his job. Tom Brady went over and above with no timeouts left. I thought, for one, I was like John Madden. I was thinking, don't try to go down the field. Take the ball, run it into the ground.
But you don't want to go OT against them when they got momentum.
I didn't think they were good enough to win. I thought even then I didn't believe in them.
No, I believed them by then. I believed in them, like you said, when they had the introductions pregame and they came out as a team. And when they started laying those licks on St. Louis, I believed in them.
But that one pass,
Brady was so composed.
That one pass to Troy Brown gives him the MVP. That great 30-yard pass. Unbelievable. So I decided this is the biggest upset ever in Super Bowl history, the best finish ever in Super Bowl history. The bigger question is this the best Super Bowl ever? Obviously, with anyone with a memory lasting more than 2 years will say no way. But there's a lot of people today, including you, Mr. Wilbon, who think it is the best Super Bowl ever. Or am I misreading this thing?
I put it, to me, it's a list of 3 or 4. And I'm not old enough to really, truly remember Jim O'Brien and his field goal.
Actually, that was a bad game.
It was a bad game, but it was a good ending.
But that was a bad game.
But 2 years ago, I thought 2 years ago when a guy is lunging toward the end zone, you know what? If he lunges in the end zone, St. Louis is Buffalo.
I could not breathe when that play happened. That play, and then 2 years earlier with the Denver Broncos playing the when Denver played the Packers.
Beat the Packers.
I thought that was a tremendous game when Terrell Davis scored at the end. Elway does the helicopter
thing. But it was missing one thing, Bill. This was an upset. If you add all the drama and the fact that the other team was 14 points underdog, that's what those other two games didn't have.
But this game was 17-3 for most of the game. That game was Favre and Elway, back and forth, gunslinger against gunslinger. That was an awesome game. This game was great the last few minutes, but I don't think any way you can say it's the best Super Bowl
But just watching the Patriots build that lead was something that was sort of shocking. I mean, that game had our attention. It wasn't a good game early, but you had the Patriots building this momentum, and a comeback to me is always great.
The coolest part was that the fans were really into it because of the whole patriotism theme. That pregame show may have helped them win the game. They came out there, the pregame show, they had to go back in the locker room for an hour. They said they were beating each other's heads up against the walls. They were so intense to get out on the field, and the fans then bought this whole patriotism thing, and by the time the Patriots came out to start the game, it was there. The Superdome was there. They owned it.
And we didn't think we were going to get a great game based on the non-hype of the week. All right, we've got to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll get some perspective on Tom Brady's performance from a guy who knows something about stepping up from a backup's role, ESPN's Sean Salisbury.
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by the Olive Garden. When you're here, your family.
We're going to spend the next 5 good minutes with ESPN's Sean Salisbury, who we left in New Orleans this morning. Sean, I hope you got a little more sleep than we did, flying halfway across the country. But let me ask you this. I know you, like both of us, picked the Rams in this game. Are you still groping for an explanation like Bill and I are?
Yeah, and I found it as I watched that game. One team played with more guts, and quite frankly, New England Patriots put it to the Rams. But I agree with you. I thought that New England had a chance to win the game going into it, but I picked it to be 38-20. They showed us so-called experts something, but it was a rear end kick, and that's why they won. It wasn't the Rams losing it. It was, let's give New England the respect they deserve.
Well, Sean,
they won the football game.
Sean, can I move from rear ends to quarterbacks? Wasn't really the reason you're a backup quarterback. How important was the chemistry between Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady the whole season? Wasn't that maybe the reason they were able to pull the thing off yesterday?
No, I don't think there's any question about it. There's nothing worse, guys, than going into a quarterback meeting or an offensive coordinator group and hating the guy you're competing with. I think it took Drew Bledsoe a lot of guts to be able to do what he did and a lot of fortitude, and he was behind Tom Brady the whole time. And when he came in, he played well. But it also took Brady to be able to handle the media, handle the situation, and go out and perform. That was two guys, 1 and 1A, working together, and that was a big part of this victory, not only yesterday, but throughout the season.
Sean, why didn't Mike Martz use Marshall Faulk more? And are we seeing coaches' egos getting too involved in some of these game plans?
Well, I think at times that does happen. We've seen it down the line. Guys not only want to beat you, but they want to kick you in the ribs while you're down. 21 touches is not enough for the greatest football player in the world. 17 carries and 4 catches. When Marshall Faulk touches a football, good things happen. And the thing that killed me the most was what was second and about 2 feet. They run the ball. Marshall stopped. Now it's third and about 2 feet, and they throw a deep out-cut comeback that's incomplete. I just didn't like the tempo or the rhythm of the game. And if number 28's on my team, if I'm going to lose and I'm going to go down, I'm going down with the best football player in the world.
So Sean,
I don't think that's enough.
Everything you just said then can be boiled down to the fact that was Mike Martz the biggest wimp in Super Bowl history yesterday?
I don't know if I'd call Mike that.
You just called him that.
I called him a wimp?
Well, basically.
No, I did not a wimp. What I'm telling you this is that I would have given it to Marshall Faulk. Obviously, Mike Martz had a different plan than I did. Maybe that's why I'm sitting here. But you know what? If Mike looks back at the tape, I'll guarantee you he'll think that number 28 needed to touch the football more.
Sean, particularly in light of the way St. Louis beat the Eagles. I mean, they let Marshall Faulk carry the ball 31 times, and we hear coaches say, well, let's do what got us here, but that wasn't the case yesterday.
No, you're right, Mike. And the interesting thing about that Philadelphia Eagle game, you remember early on, they were kind of going back and forth. But when the game was on the line, he gave the football to Marshall Faulk. And I was shocked that they didn't do it yesterday. There was plenty of time to do it. They got back in the game. But it was, to me, you got to give it to him 30, 35 times. If they do that, I think the result might have been different yesterday.
All right, Sean, if you're Drew Bledsoe, and I know he like to be, he makes a lot of money, good-looking guy, really popular. If you're Drew Bledsoe, would you want to go back to the Patriots next year? And if you're Bill Belichick, would you want Drew Bledsoe back?
I think that the chemistry was great this year, but 1 year is probably enough. Drew's got to go. No, I would not go back. He's got enough money. Somebody can pay him and restructure that contract. Chicago could use one. Miami could use a guy there also. There's a few other teams. No, you don't go back because we don't want to push this chemistry thing too far. Tom Brady is the quarterback in New England and will be until he's injured or something else happens, and he earned it.
Sean, it's a great answer because you agree with me.
Tremendous
answer. Tremendous answer. That's one good minute.
Sean, knowing systems like you do, where do you think Bledsoe would operate most efficiently out of those teams you mentioned?
Well, I think what happens with Drew Bledsoe, for the 9 years or so he's been in New England, he's loaded that team on his shoulders. Other than the year that Curtis Martin and he were there going to the Super Bowl, he's loaded that team on his shoulders and carried it. I think you get to a point in your career where you say, you know what, put me on a team. If I only have to throw it 18 to 22 times, we can win. Why not Chicago? I think they're a quarterback away from being the next level elite team. They run the football, they block up front, and they play great defense. And the one thing they're missing is a guy who can push that ball down the field all the time. Chicago, Miami, Drew Bledsoe could make an impact anywhere, but he needs to go someplace where he's the man again, but also doesn't have to carry the team. He just gets to be a part of it.
Sean, we got only about 30 seconds left. Let me ask you this. The last 3 Super Bowl teams, the season before they won it all, they were 8-8 or less. Is there a team out there we ought to be looking at to continue that trend next year as you look forward?
Well, if you're excited and watch what they did yesterday, the team like the Cleveland Browns ought to be excited. We saw the 49ers do something. What about the Chargers? Maybe the Seattle Seahawks if Mike Holmgren can draft well. I think those are some teams you have to look at because they're starting to build something pretty good in those places.
All right, Sean, thanks so much for being with us. There's nothing like looking into the crystal ball for next year already. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll get to some other sports headlines, believe it or not, including Shaquille O'Neal threatening to sit out his team's next game against those nasty Chicago Bulls. There's a world of sports beyond the Super Bowl, if you can believe that. So in other headlines today, down in Tampa, where the Buccaneers still don't have a coach, the Glazer family apparently wants to make a big splash hire. Marvin Lewis, the Ravens' defensive coordinator, may not be a big enough splash. In fact, some people suggest he's Tony Dungy, the sequel. Rich McKay, the team's general manager, wants to hire Lewis, according to the Fort Lauderdale Sun-Sentinel, but may be overruled. Bill, are all defensive coordinators the same?
Just stop. No more Tony Dungy talk, okay? I've heard it. I've had it up to here with Tony Dungy. Dude was 2-4 in the playoffs. 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years couldn't get the job done. Gee, what's wrong with the Buccaneers? It's not the offensive coordinators. Maybe it's Tony Dungy.
Well, that's what they're saying. They don't want a guy who reminds them of Tony Dungy.
Let's go back to Tony Dungy. He should have been fired. Do you agree? He absolutely should have been fired.
Yes. My problem with the Glazers was, and I told them this, fire him. Fire him and get going. Okay. Don't drag this out over 72 hours. That was my problem.
But I got tired of all the national weeping. He's a great guy. I love him. He's a wonderful interview.
Yes.
He was not a good head football coach in Indianapolis.
He was a good head football coach. He got to the playoffs a bunch of times.
Well,
I'll tell you about Rich Kotite wasn't a good head football coach.
He was not the football coach.
He was a championship caliber
And then to say Marvin Lewis, I think that's almost, if you think about it, isn't that almost a sort of prejudice to say, well, Marvin Lewis looks like Tony Dungy and coach of defense, so let him come on down there.
If anybody makes that connection, you're right. I'd agree with you.
There's a lot of talk this weekend, speaking of Tampa Bay, about Bill Parcells not making the Hall of Fame. Please. Why should somebody be elected who still might coach again? Parcells is going to get in the Hall of Fame eventually. He'll be in Canton. A bigger story, though, is about a man who never should get in. Your buddy, Art Modell. The Ravens owners whose election, it was reportedly blocked Saturday by what may have been the best performance of the weekend. Nobody knows about this. An impassioned plea by Cleveland writer Tony Grossi to bar the man who stole his town's heart. Tony stood up there and got tearful and stopped it. You wouldn't vote for Art, would you, Mike?
Not only, Bill, would I vote for him, I did vote for him.
Oh, God.
Because I'm a Pro Football Hall of Fame selector. I voted for him.
Because you live here,
I made a case for him. Nah. I've known Art Modell for a long time. I'm taking his life on balance. Cleveland, you cannot excuse Cleveland. You can't excuse
Here's Cleveland.
Monday Night
there is no
Football
balance.
exists because of Art Modell.
Oh, no, that's Pete Rozelle. Oh, Pete Rozelle did that. Art Modell was in on Pete Rozelle did every meeting, but Pete Rozelle ran the thing.
Wait,
Come on.
Let's give them a tag team credit. But the point is, there's a lot of stuff that Art Modell accomplished in this league.
He took the fabric of the league. He took this league that was a wonderful place, and he said this league can be stolen from this league, can be jeopardized.
Should we snatch Al Davis out of the Hall of Fame? He moved the team twice.
No, this was a whole different deal. Cleveland, he ever moved a team from a place where it was like in Cleveland.
The move is inexcusable, but I believe he should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm voting for him next year.
You're being a homer.
You are. Bill, you are. You know what? If Bill Parcells wants to work again and not have a lot of stress and still be eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I got just the gig for him. Defensive coordinator for Georgia Tech. It's vacant because newly hired Rick Smith has been fired for, and I know this will shock you, falsifying information on his bio. Now, Bill, what would you do to the position coach who falsified his bio, but so far is still there?
This is a sad story, and I hope we have this totally wrong, but I think we have it totally right. So this guy gets fired because he falsified the fact that he played on sports teams he didn't play for. Meanwhile, I got Tommy Robinson, who's one of the coordinators, one of the receivers coach. Tommy Robinson falsifies on his resume that he has a master's degree. Doesn't have one.
That's just education, Bill. That
he doesn't get fired. He says, I got a master's. He doesn't get fired, but the guy who falsifies about sports gets fired. What message is that sending to us? It's unbelievable.
It's a bad one. You can falsify sports stuff and be fired, but the educational stuff is secondary.
That's fine, yeah. And see, if parents would only know this, that 75% of all scholarships in college are given out for academics instead of athletics. Yet parents just think it's all about sports. This is why. This is horrible.
It's the wrong signal.
Speaking of horrible, though, my good friend Shaquille O'Neal, I love Shaq. He's popping off again, as only Shaq can pop off. He's saying now that he may not play for the Lakers in Wednesday's rematch with the Chicago Bulls and Brad Miller, whom Shaq attempted to sucker punch last month in Chicago when he did one of these things. Anyway, Shaq said, I've got nothing to prove against bums and has-beens. They know who I am. That's why they do creative tactics to try to stop me. I just have to wait to see what Phil says. Forget about Phil, Shaq. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to play against the Bulls because that's the kind of guy you are. Stop this talking. Just put a zipper on it. You're going to play. Isn't that right? He's going to play.
He's got to play. Yeah,
he's going to play.
And he's going to score 50 points and get 22 rebounds against the Bulls. We know what Shaq is doing. He's already sowing that seed for the officials to start calling some fouls.
Absolutely. Shaq is like a big kid. He pops off. The other day, he said he was going to be a sheriff after he retired. Then he says he's going to retire when Phil leaves.
Sheriff Shaq.
We love.
All right, Bill, but I got to tell you this, and I agree with you on 99% of things about Shaq. But they have got to call that offensive foul when he starts throwing his rump in the guy.
I've been the one saying it.
You want to foul him hard.
Shaq should have gotten suspended. Exactly.
We agree on that. Now, the NHL's penalty for playing its All-Star game this weekend was watching it get lower ratings than everything other than the U.S. curling trials. 2 NBA games and the third round of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am beat hockey's midseason showcase. And the sad part is, it was a pretty good game, rather than some of those bogus score fests they've had in a lot of previous seasons.
The NHL has it all wrong. It's like the NHL All-Star game is like if baseball had an All-Star game and said you couldn't bat. The NHL has an All-Star game and says you can't fight. They don't let them fight. They don't let them check. They don't let them kill each other. They don't understand. Hockey fans love fighting. They're promoting fighting. Why don't they let the best players in the world? Why don't they get Mario Lemieux out there with Chris Chelios and have them beat the heck out of each other?
They can't. As a matter of fact, I want fighting banned. You know why? I'm going to go to Salt Lake City next week and watch the best hockey in the world. I know you love Olympic hockey. It is fast, it's creative, it's imaginative, and there's no fighting, Bill, and we don't complain.
Right, because that's what we expect. The NHL doesn't want to admit this, but their fan expects fighting. That's why the All-Star game needs a bunch of brawls. They need guys killing each other.
So they got to have a goon guy?
They need guys with shirts over their heads. That's what they need. Speaking of fist fighting, finally, Roy Jones Jr. has a chance to prove that he's not, pound for pound, the most overrated boxer in the world.
What?
Which he is, by the way, Mike. Jones taunted and then decked an Australian garbage man by the name of Paul Hogan. I'm sorry, Glenn Kelly. I'm sorry, on Saturday night. I don't like Paul. I'm not a big Paul Hogan guy. At the same time, boxing's most exciting fighter, Bernard Hopkins, was beating Carl Daniels, setting up the prospect of a possible fight of the year between Jones and Hopkins. But, of course, what do you think? Roy Jones crying about money, crying about weight, wants to go cockfight with his dad. Give me a break. Tell him to put up or shut up.
We can see all three of these guys. There's enough room in boxing, particularly when there's no heavyweight division to speak of, to watch these guys. I watched Bernard Hopkins, and you're right. It is amazing the way he beats up people.
But how come Roy Jones Jr., he'll never be a great fighter. I don't think until he fights a great
Bad
fighter.
weight class. You're right. He's got. Look, no, I think he's a great fighter.
But even when he fights,
they won't fight him, Bill.
He was out in Los Angeles. He gets in these fights, and he hangs back. He doesn't attack anybody. He put his hand behind his back.
I think Roy is less than he could have been. I think he did, because he gets bored. I think he's less.
We get bored. I'm paying $100. I'm bored.
He's less than he could have been because he never was challenged by great fighters early in his career.
It's his fault. He can change his thing.
All right, we got to take a quick break.
Why?
But don't go anywhere, because we still got to talk about Pat Summerall, who did his last game with John Madden last night.
Thank goodness. Ooh, I should have said.
Time to send out our happy happies on the day. Happy 43rd birthday to Lawrence Taylor, LT. He was the most disruptive defensive player of the last 25 years, and that's hard for me to say as a Bears fan, because I always thought Dick Butkus was, but it's probably LT.
As long as he doesn't invite me to his birthday party.
Oh, that is just cold.
That's the truth.
But you liked watching LT, didn't you?
I liked watching him, but I don't think I could hang with him otherwise.
Happy anniversary, John Madden. On this day in 1969, you were named head coach of the Oakland Raiders. Amazingly to me, John Madden was a head coach for only 10 years, but has been a broadcaster for 21. I know some players don't even know he ever head coached.
But I can never forgive John Madden for spawning all these guys who talk like him. Now, Bill Moss, Tim Green, pow, boom, boom.
They are getting carried away.
They're carried away.
Happy trails, Pat Summerall. The Super Bowl was his last broadcast with John Madden. Now, reports say he may be Fox's voice of the Dallas Cowboys next season. How'd you think he did?
Everybody's afraid to say it. We got to say it. It's time for him to go. Great guy. I just thought he faltered down the stretch.
I guess
to put it
I
kindly.
just like hearing his voice.
I do too, but I also like hearing the proper score and team and stuff.
That is sort of kind of important.
I'm sorry.
All right, time to find out what we screwed up. Stat Boy, I say I didn't get anything wrong. What do you got?
I think you're wrong in saying that, especially. But talk about Super Bowl upsets. Super Bowl 32, Packers and the Broncos. You didn't think that was an upset, but the Broncos were a wild card team playing the defending champs and a double-digit underdog. Also, Bill, quickly, you talk about Roy Jones and Bernard Hopkins. Jones has already beat him once, so he's not running away from anybody. And you use the expression "your buddy." We don't do that on this show. PTI, we like your boy.
We'll get him in your boy mode by the end of the week.
This guy's actually wearing makeup. I can't believe you put makeup on him.
We're running out of show, but we got a bunch more stories to talk about, so let's get to the big finish. Lennox Lewis says April 6th is out as a date for the Mike Tyson fight. Is this fight ever going to come off, Bill?
Yes, but not in this country, hopefully. John Van Beesbrook has been lured out of retirement to play for the Devils. Mike, big question. Did you know he was even retired?
You mean he's not still with the Rangers? All right, the Olympic Committee won't let Afghanistan marshal the Olympics. Good call?
No Taliban loser setting fire to the joint. Good call.
What about Taliban skaters?
No. The Sports Center Utah today. Who do you think should carry it the final stretch into the cauldron?
The Osmonds, Donnie and Marie.
No.
Bobby Abreu of the Phillies had an emergency appendectomy today. Do you still have your appendix?
Somewhere around here, unless that boy took it.
I don't know if I have mine or not. All right, we're out of time. Join us tomorrow. We won't have Tony, but we don't need him. I'm Mike Wilbon.
I'm Bill Plaschke. Good night. Good night, Tony.
Pardon the Interruption is a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For up-to-the-minute scores and statistics, log on to ESPN.com.